Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules and joining us today in this exclusive webinar with St. George's University. Today's webinar will go on for 1 hour. In the first 30 minutes, we're going to be discussing about the university, and then we'll move on to the Q&A session where you'll be able to type your questions below and we'll be answering them accordingly. Today we have Ms. Noor with us from St. George's University. Over to you, Ms. Noor.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sahara, for introducing me, and thank you, Qadri International, for organizing this webinar. Just to give you more of a brief, my name is Noor. I am the recruitment manager for the Middle East and North Africa region at St. George's University. And I'm here to talk to you about a fantastic opportunity for those who want to become doctors. My role involves identifying talented individuals with educational values that align with SGU, School of Medicine. I'll be sharing my screen now. So before we go into more details about St. George's University, I just want each one of you to take 30 seconds to think about the first thing that pops into your mind when you are searching for a school of medicine. There are many excellent medical schools, but the right medical school, is it the right choice for me? And the questions you should be asking yourself is, where do I want to practice medicine? Is it cost effective? Clinical rotation opportunities. Does the university prepare me for the licensing exam, accreditation, and my return on investment? St. George's University is a school of medicine. And as you can see on screen, this is one of our beautiful campuses on the island in Grenada, the West Indies. I'll go into more details about the geographical location of Grenada in the further slides. But just to give you a brief, if you can see my cursor, this would be the student housing, lecture halls, restaurants, research facilities, and so on. The campus consists of 60 plus buildings, in addition to a 24-hour bus service. And as you can see, it's a very, very comprehensive campus. And the way you can imagine it is, as in imagine taking a US medical school, picking it up and dropping it on this beautiful island in Grenada, which is in the West Indies, Caribbean. That said, St. George's University has graduated over 20,000 physicians. So this means that there are over 20,000 physicians practicing in over 55 countries. Main student body, the majority of our students are working in the United States. And that takes me to my first question. Will I get US residency? As many of you know, if I was to go to the US directly, I would need to do 4 years of pre-med, then I would need to do an MCAT exam, and then I apply to medicine. So the chances of getting into residency it's a very, very difficult and competitive program. So it is a very good question to ask myself. Will I get US residency if I go to X school? That said, St. George's University, that would be a yes. Well, yes to 89% of you. And why I say 89%? Those who have applied for a postgraduate position have obtained it, which we're very proud of. And 89% is a very phenomenal number, which makes SGU the largest providers of doctors into first-year US residency for the last 9 years. So over 1,000 US residency spots, and still counting since we're not done with 2023. But to give you a rough idea, there are over 1,000 students who have already placed into US residency, which means that no other medical school in the world provides more new doctors into the US healthcare system. And you can search this yourself by checking the FSMB, which is the Federal State Medical Board licensing data. And so that means that your education and finance, if you get accepted to St. George's University, it is very, very safe in your continuation and return to get a job. SGU is actually the first largest source of licensed physicians in the current US workforce. Again, we all need to check our information, we need to be accurate. So if we see the number on the right, which is 13,231, this is the number of current doctors practicing in the US healthcare system. So the reason for this actually, why SGU is the number one largest source of physicians into the US workforce, this is because of the Office of Career Guidance and Student Development. The point of the Office of Career Guidance and Student Development is there to help you personalize your own residency strategy. And what does personalizing my own residency strategy mean? So the last 2 years would be your clinical rotations. So when I am preparing to do my clinical rotations, the Office of Career Guidance personalizes this residency strategy for me. And why? Why do we do this? The reason for that is because in order to get into US residency, there's a lot of factors involved that most students would not have taken into account first when starting medical school. Now, how can SGU's clinical network help me obtain this residency? As we said in the very beginning, a very important question to ask yourself is, how does the clinical rotation, what are the opportunities I'll get by studying in a certain university? That said, St. George's University has over 75 hospitals affiliated in the US and UK combined. Say, for example, you have family in New Jersey. You might want to go practice in that particular state. So having that vast network of hospitals gives you the opportunity to practice in multiple hospitals, gain the kind of exposure that you would need in order to implement your CV. In addition to being able to practice 2 different healthcare systems, because as we know, the US is a private healthcare system, while the UK is a public healthcare system. One of the key factors into getting into US residency is the licensing exam. So as we said before, residency is very competitive. And what does residency look at? Residency looks at 3 things: accreditation, USMLE Step 1, and third, how many letters of recommendation I can get during my clinical rotation. So we've already addressed the clinical rotation, and having the ability to practice in multiple hospitals gives me that opportunity to collect as many letters of recommendation during those clinical rotation years. So it's very, very important to look at the clinical rotation opportunities. If, for example, I'm going to X university and I only have the opportunity to practice in one hospital, that limits my opportunities into specialization as well. So looking at these things is very important. I do know that this seems a very, very far question to ask yourself right now. But to be very honest, you need to be looking at the end goal and working backwards towards which university I should be going to in order to get my medical degree. Now, the second thing we just spoke about is the USMLE Step 1. So what is the USMLE? The USMLE is the United States Medical Licensing Exam, which some of you may be familiar, if you're familiar with the UK healthcare system, it would be called the PLAB. In the US, it's called the USMLE. And in order to practice medicine legally, I need a medical degree in addition to the licensing exam in order to practice medicine legally. The answer to that question is yes. 94% of students, 94%, we have a 94% USMLE Step 1 pass rate for international students who are taking the exam for the very first time, and a 92% USMLE Step 2 pass rate for international students taking the test for the very first time. And this is very important because when you are looking for a medical school, it's very, very important to consider a school that will also help me prepare for my licensing exam. Again, this is because we need a medical degree in addition to passing the licensing exams in order to practice medicine legally. And I just want to add that because, there's a lot of time and money invested into medicine, you want to make sure you're making the right choice. And this is why I'm addressing the questions that we just went over in the very beginning, because the licensing exam is very important. Accreditation is very important. My opportunity to practice in multiple hospitals is very important. So these are factors you need to be considering when you are looking for a school of medicine. That said, I'd like to play a short video just so you get a general idea of the campus feel and what St. George's University can offer in the Caribbean and in the UK.
SGU has done so much to help me prepare. From the very beginning, they always try to keep in mind what's our end goal.
I believe that SGU has really helped propel me towards my lifelong dream of becoming a doctor.
I'm very confident that I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have gotten residency at Mayo Clinic if I had gone to any school other than St. George's. SGU was the best investment I've made in my entire life. Absolutely.
SGU has graduated now over 18,000 graduates from our School of Medicine. These graduates have practiced in all 50 US states, as well as more than 50 countries around the world.
We've been in existence for over 40 years, so we've trained a whole lot of doctors. And probably one of the most unique advantages of coming to St. George's is the amount of support that we give to our students. We attempt to make every student that we accept to the med school be successful. We can offer a wide variety of educational pathways leading to the MD degree, which means the vast majority of students that want to be a physician are going to become physicians.
Studying here is quite demanding, but I believe that the school is here to help us, supporting all the students and their families, and that is a big thing.
On campus, an SGU lifestyle, I think, is similar to a school in the States, except you have this beautiful environment where you're really focused on becoming a doctor.
This is a comprehensive campus. We have 65 buildings. We actually run our own bus service. We have our new exercise facility, restaurants, and our brand new dorm is spectacular. We really cater to the unique needs of all of our students and create an incredibly safe and supportive environment.
The school really tries to help you make sure that you know what you're doing. And it's just really nice to have such a big community.
The key to medical education is the learning group size, because that's the environment where you're learning medicine. And most of our curriculum is taught in small groups of 8.
One of the things we do here is we've set up DES, the Department of Educational Services, where our students learn how to learn.
We really focus on the individual. It's really student-centered education. We work with students in workshops. We work with students in small groups. We also do provide one-on-one support for students who are developing their English language.
They provide practice tests, educational material, all of that. And so when I took step 1, for me, it felt like taking another St. George's test.
We're often judged by the success of our students in USMLE exams. And in fact, we are virtually identical to a US medical school in our success rate. But in addition to standardized tests, I think we are particularly good at preparing students to be lifelong learners long into their careers.
The first 2 years in Grenada really prepared me well to succeed here in clinical rotations.
And I do believe that these clinical rotations are probably the most important aspect in trying to narrow down what you want to do for residency.
St. George's allowed me to do multiple rotations, to repeat rotations that I was interested in, and were incredibly encouraging.
We have relationships with over 70 hospitals. So it's really an opportunity for our students to think about, where do I want to train to get the residency that you're looking for?
I'm a second-year resident, and I know this is a privilege. It's a path that not everyone gets to walk, and SGU is really the stepping stone that enabled me to be here.
If you look at the average residency placement, all those numbers are on par, if not better than the US averages, and that's a testament to St. George's.
I'm a big believer in diversity, and all one needs to do is come on the campuses and walk, and you look around you and you see diversity.
I've met so many great people from so many different countries, and they all have different experiences from their country.
You learn about their backgrounds, their customs, their cultures, and having that exposure is crucial, in terms of being able to take care of people down the road.
Our students have the opportunity to train all over the world. We have actually been working in partnership with Northumbria University in Newcastle, England. And one of the things that we can now offer to students is to spend the first year of your medical curriculum in Newcastle.
That gives you a perfect combination of doing 1 year of school in England and 1 year of school in Grenada, and then your clinical rotations in North America, or to come back to the UK.
That type of international medical education is not only extremely valuable, but is quite unique.
Being a doctor in the 21st century, I think not only means being able to take care of patients, but also making sure that you continue to better yourself as a doctor. That's a really key point here, is that St. George's does a phenomenal job at getting you ready for your career.
I don't think that I would have been able to get the experience that I've gotten here at SGU anywhere else.
As soon as they drape the white coat over you, you kind of have that sense that this is the beginning of the journey.
My parents feel pretty happy about this because I'm doing something which is beneficial for mankind.
If you put in the work, doors will fly open for you. And I'm just very, very fortunate and thankful for that opportunity.
Now, let me explain a bit more about the locations. As you can see here, we have one campus in the UK, Newcastle, and this is a bit north of England. And the second campus is Grenada, which is an island in the Caribbean. As you can see, it's between North America and South America. You see, do you remember the campus location I showed you in the very first slide? That would be the Grenada campus. And the reason I wanted you to see the video before we discuss the locations is so you can get an idea of the Grenada campus as well as the Newcastle UK campus that was shown in the video. I know that there's a lot of concern, especially from the Middle East, about the location. And the reason for that is it may seem a bit far away. However, I'd like to make everyone feel a bit more comfortable. Grenada is outside the hurricane belt, and there are a lot of precautions that have been taken into consideration at the campus, with a lot of security, and it's just a very, very safe and friendly environment. Now, more importantly, I wanted to explain the program in more detail because there's different entry levels depending on each high school curriculum. So if you can see where my cursor is, the blue would be the preclinical years, while the red would be the MD program. So depending on which curriculum I'm studying, there are different entry points. So let's say, for example, you're doing the Thanawiya, or for example, the SAT curriculum, American curriculum, it would be a 7-year MD program. This is where students would start. Now, if I was doing the SABIS curriculum, or I have APs in addition to my American diploma, I would be entering at the 6-year MD program. There is also that opportunity for those who want to start at the AS level. If we're talking about the British curriculum, they can also start at the 6-year MD program. Now, what's very interesting and I would say is very compelling is the 5-year MD program as well. So for those who are doing A levels or IB curriculum, they would start at the 5-year MD program. So as you can see, depending on which year I can start, so if it was a 7-year program, it would be mandatory to start in Grenada. For those who are starting for the 6-year or 5-year program, they have the option to choose which campus they would like to start. They can choose either the UK campus or Grenada campus. And then the 2nd year of the MD program would be a mandatory year in Grenada. Now, do you remember earlier when we were discussing the clinical rotations, the hospital affiliations? Those would be the last 2 years. So the last 2 years of the MD program would be the clinical rotations, where I can practice in hospitals either in the US or the UK. So it's really depending on which curriculum I study, and it would have different entry points. For example, we can go into more details about the requirements, but just to give you an example, if I was start at the 5-year with an A level or IB curriculum. So for A levels, you would need 3 sciences: biology, chemistry, and physics or math. And if I was doing the IB, same thing, I would need higher level biology, chemistry, and I would need to be taking either math or physics. Now, this is more of a breakdown about the last 4 years, which is the MD program. So the MD program consists of the first 2 years of basic sciences, which the first year I would start either in Grenada or the UK, with the second basic science year being mandatory in Grenada. And the last 2 years, which is the clinical rotations, either in the US or the UK. Now, I also want to come back here and to give you more clarity about the licensing exams, because we do need the licensing exam in order to complete into the US. And you would be taking the USMLE Step 1 during this year over here. And the USMLE Step 2 would be taken during the last year of the program, which is the last year of clinical rotations. So this is a very unique opportunity for those who want to practice in the US or the UK. And I have to speak a bit about the, can you see here the optional selectives in Kenya, Czech Republic, Thailand, or Sweden? So this is an opportunity for those students who want to do summer 1 to 2 week hospital rotations in those countries. So it's really an opportunity for those who want to add to their CV, advance their CV, and have the opportunity to be able to say, I have practiced in hospitals, let's say in the US, in the UK, and in addition to, for example, the Czech Republic. I can assure you, whether you will be going to the Grenada campus or UK campus, the curriculum is the same, so is the faculty and the outcomes. Now, what will my life be like at St. George's University? I believe the video gave a little brief about the campus lifestyle and the student experience while on campus. But I'd like to go into a bit more details, such as the beautiful campuses and the large up-to-date gym, in addition to multiple restaurants. So you have Subway, you have shawarma. I know this is a lot of questions mostly students do ask is, what kind of, because it's on an island. So there is that curiosity of what is available. There's vegetarian, there's for those who are meat lovers as well, there's those options as well. There are also scenery around 14 hospitals and a 24-hour bus service. And as you can see here, and I'm sure most of you have caught it in the video, just the accommodation. And there are a lot of options for accommodation as well, which later on, if interested, we can share with you additional links to show you the accommodation options as well. There are also over 70 clubs on campus, ranging from Arabic club to Indian club to medic clubs. There are so many options for all students. And to be very fair, if there was an option that wasn't on campus, the students always have the opportunity to start up their own club as well. So there are also full sports and recreational opportunities such as yoga, diving, cricket. Cricket is very popular in Grenada. So there's a lot of opportunities for those who want to take extracurricular, who want to invest some of their free time doing sports or any extracurricular activities. Now, how do I apply? Well, first, we would need to submit an application. So the academic documents that would be required is high school transcripts for the last 3 years. If I'm currently in grade 12, I would also need predicted, 2 letters of recommendation, passport copy, personal statement of 500 words, why I want to become a doctor. And the personal statement is very, very important. I'd also like to state that, when you are writing a personal statement, we should always keep in mind it's not a CV. It's why I want to apply for medicine and what makes me a good candidate to come to St. George's University. If you do also have any shadowing or after-school activities, it would really, really be beneficial if you do add this along with the rest of the documents. In addition to that, you would require an IELTS score of 7.0 and no band less than 7. For those who are unable to achieve those language scores, there are other options available such as pre-sessional English, MAC program, which is the medical academic program. So there are also other opportunities for those who are unable to meet the language requirements. We do offer additional help in order to help them obtain the language requirements that are needed to succeed at St. George's University. Now, just to give you a brief about the application process. So once you have submitted the application and you've provided all your documents, it goes in for processing. If the student is eligible, they'll be granted an interview. Now, the interview is very, very important, and I'm sure Qadri International or myself would be more than happy to help you prep for this interview. And the interview is just to make sure that you have the moral standards and the knowledge in order to be able to get into medical school. So if I do well in the interview, then a decision will be made on my application and hopefully granted an offer to St. George's University. I would also like to say that the interviews are usually done with doctors who have graduated from St. George's University. So this is also an opportunity to discuss, their experiences or any additional questions that you may have for a doctor in particular. We are very competitive. So once you do get an offer, it's very important to secure your seat. And we're a very large medical school, but because of our quality and return on investment, we have a lot of applications, so it's very, very important to secure that seat. And that is when you'll be asked to make your first financial deposit, which would be the deposit to reserve your seat. And that would be $5,000. And again, I'd also like to say, I do want to be looking at, the quality, my return on investment, residency placement rates, and the amount of students that are graduating from that particular university. As I said, my name is Noor, and these are my contact details, or you can reach Qadri International. We're both more than happy to assist you with your application process, in addition to any additional details you may require. Now, I'd like to open up the floor now for any questions and answers, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Noor, for that very informative presentation. Let's begin with the Q&A session now. So students, you can type in your questions below in the Q&A box and we'll be answering them. We have the first question by Arhan. Arhan wants to know, is the medical degree recognized in India? And for CBSE students, is it a 5-year program?
So for CBSE students, correct, it's a 5-year MD program. They would require an 80% overall, and they need to have taken biology, chemistry, physics, and math. I do understand that a lot of CBSE students do not take math. And in that case, if you're not taking math, there is an exam which would be online, self-paced, and it usually takes CBSE students around 3 weeks to complete.
Okay. The second question of Arhan was to know if the degree was recognized in India.
Yeah. So to answer your question more specifically, if I was to take, for example, the US route and I become US board certified, then I can practice almost in any country in the world.
Okay, then we have the next question by Timothy. Timothy wants to know, do the students get the visa from US easily?
So to give you more in-depth, when you will be applying for the visa, the very first time is during your clinical rotations. We do have a visa and immigration office that helps all our students to obtain this. And usually there are 2 categories. There are either J1 visa or the H1B1 visa. And that depends on whether your country gives you a statement of need. But to be even more specific, in the US, there's a shortage of nurses and doctors. So the fastest people to get the visa are the nurses and doctors who are applying to the US. Of course, we can never guarantee a visa, but you can see how high the chances of getting the visa is. So getting a visa rejection is very, very, very minimal. I don't want to say 0, but it's a 1% chance of not getting the visa.
Okay, moving on to the next question by Kareem. Kareem wants to know how many APs do the students need to do and what are the grades that are required to enter the second year?
So the 6-year program. So if I had APs, I could enter at the 6-year program and I would need at least 3 APs, which would be sciences, biology, chemistry, either physics or math. I will be sharing with Qadri International a brochure with all the requirements, the specific requirements. So anyone who would like to know for each curriculum, you can always reach Qadri International or myself, and we're more than happy to share that brochure with you.
Yes, and as I have shared the contact details in the chat box, students, you can always use that. Moving on to the next question by Omar. Omar wants to know what is the requirement for AS students?
So for AS students, you would need 3 sciences, biology, chemistry, physics, or math, with a minimum required grade of B.
Okay.
So B, C, minimum.
Perfect. Sabiha wants to know, are there any scholarships available?
Yes, there are scholarships available, and the first scholarship that you would be eligible for would be an academic scholarship. if you meet the eligibility criteria. Now, I can't go into specifics about how these scholarships are divided, but once you do apply and the minute you get your offer, the academic scholarship would be attached into the offer letter. So it's an automatic scholarship that is given to students. And it can range between 0 up to 60,000 US dollars. Of course, that depends on your academic achievements. There is also a financial statement, which is a financial scholarship in addition to the academic scholarship. And that can be applied to after a student gets an offer. So once you do have your offer, you'd already automatically, if you are eligible for an academic scholarship, it would be available within the same email as the offer letter. And the financial academic scholarship, you can apply to after getting admissions to St. George's University, which I'm more than happy to help anyone who wants to apply for this fill it out in the correct way.
Okay. Omar wants to know if there was a previous question related to AS. So if Omar is doing AS, which pre-medical year would he start in?
If you're doing AS and you have a minimum of BBB in biology, chemistry, physics, or math, you would start at the 6-year MD program.
Okay. We have a question by Arhant. The maths exam for CBSE students, when can the students apply? Is there any course materials and when does the session start?
You can start the course whenever. You just need to sign up, which we can share that additional information with you. The earlier you do this, the better. And why I say this, and anyone who's doing their last year of high school, it's always best to get the university applications and requirements out of the way as early as possible. And the reason for that is so I can focus on my finals when the time does come, and I'm not worried about, completing any additional requirements such as IELTS or, the math requirement as well.
Okay. Inas wants to know, what if she's only taking biology, physics, and maths, and the curriculum she's following is Cambridge AM?
Biology, physics, and math, right?
Yes, 3 subjects.
To be very honest, each student is evaluated on an individual basis. So I cannot guarantee. However, it will be taken into consideration for a 6-year MD program if I am doing the A levels and I don't have chemistry or biology. So it would either be considered for a 5-year or a 6-year. The internal admissions team would do a full analysis. Individually, each student may be different. The outcomes may be different, but you would be considered for either a 5-year or a 6-year MD program.
Okay. Kareem wants to know, is there a student athlete scholarship?
No. Only academic and a financial needs scholarship.
Okay.
And in addition, in addition to that, if the student does feel that they still need additional, help with both scholarships, after receiving both scholarships, if the students do feel like they do need that additional financial support, we can always look at international loans as well.
Okay. Moving on to the next question by Timothy. Timothy wants to know, do the students lose the deposit in case they didn't join the university?
Usually when you are making a deposit to a university, it means that you're confirming your spot and, this is the choice, this is where you want to go. And to be very, very fair, if, for example, you have paid the deposit and then later on you didn't meet the academic requirements, as in, you didn't do well in your finals for any reason, then yes, there would be a refund on the deposit if you don't meet the academic requirements.
Okay. We have around 4 or 5 questions asking about the tuition fees. So Mohammed wants to know, what is the complete total tuition fees for 5 years? Sabiha wants to know per semester. So if we could just answer all these in one go.
Of course.
No, excuse me, can you show that chart which contains the fee structure for every semester about this so that they will have an idea and then the total fees, you know, so that they will know how much fees they have to pay per semester, and that you know increase gradually, you know, every year, so they can see
Of
this.
course.
Plus the pre-med year or 5, 6, and 7 years. No, both. Okay.
Of course.
Thank you.
So I can share that. Just give me 2 seconds. I'll be sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it was well.
So this is a fee breakdown, term by term, with the tuition fees, malpractice insurance, and the total for each term. So as you can see, for example, preclinical year 1 would be around $40,000 US. The preclinical year 2, which is the 6-year MD program, would also be first year would be around 40,000. For the 5th, which is the 3rd preclinical year, around 40,000 as well. Then this is the 4-year MD program. So the first year of the 4-year MD program is split into 2 terms. As you can see, each term is around 30,000 US dollars. Then for the 2nd year of sciences for the MD program, term 3 and 4 would be around 41,000 US dollars, while term 5 would be around 33,800 US dollars. Now, for the 4th, the third year, it's around three terms, while the last year is 2 terms. So to give you more of basic line, you're talking about preclinical years would cost around 40,000 US dollars per year. Then when we go into the 4-year MD, the first 2 years are around 68,000. Then the 3rd year would be around 70,000, and the last year would be around 100,000 US dollars. Now, when I am looking for medical schools, I need to always be aware that the last 3 years would be the most expensive. And the reason for that is the years you're doing your clinical rotations. So, and I do know that a lot of medical schools put their tuition fees and their clinical rotation fees separately. Just so you're fully aware, St. George's University, the fees that you see here, these are the full fees, including the clinical rotation fees, which is the last 2 years in medical year, core clerkship, and then the advanced clinical.
Okay. Moving on to the next question by Timothy. Timothy wants to know, is there an intake in January or only September?
There are 2 intakes. If I'm applying for the Grenada campus, I have January and September. If I'm applying to the UK campus, there's only the September intake.
Okay.
However, if I have finished a bachelor degree and I'm looking to enter the direct 4-year MD program, I do have the option of also starting in January in the UK. But that is only for those who have already finished a bachelor degree, not for those starting from high school.
All right. Moving on to the next question by Mazen. Mazen wants to know, what if they only took 2 AL subjects, biology and chemistry? Are they still eligible?
Only 2 sciences.
Yes, biology and chemistry.
That depends if you have also, let's say, for example, you've taken biology, chemistry, and you haven't taken any other A-level subjects, then unfortunately, that would be no. However, if you've taken, for example, biology, chemistry, and let's say, for example, geography, again, this will be judged on based 1-to-1. So each student will be evaluated independently. So there's no, what I'm trying to say is, if you really do want to come, still submit your application, even if you are missing one of the requirements, because again, you're judged on an individual basis. And you'll never know until you apply, and then the internal admissions team makes a final decision.
Okay, we have another question by Shubham. What if the student takes physics, chemistry, biology, and maths in CBSE stream? Is there any need to take any extra maths course, or is the CBSE maths enough?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Zahara?
Okay, so this question is by Shubham. If the student is taking physics, chemistry, and biology and maths in CBSE stream, is there any need to take an extra maths course, or is CBSE maths enough?
CBSE maths is enough, but the reason I stated the math point is because I do understand that most of the CBSE students, when they do reach grade 12, they drop maths as a subject, and the option of taking the math exam is for those who are not taking CBSE maths. But if you're already taking biology, chemistry, physics, and math, then there's no need for any additional or any external exams.
Okay, we have answered all the open questions, but I think there was one where a student wanted to know about the living cost and what would the accommodation cost look like.
So living cost and accommodation cost depends. And why I say this, you can live like a king, you can live like a student, or you can live on the minimum. So it really just depends on you as a student and what is the accommodation options that you are choosing. But I will be sharing, let me share my screen so you can see the stated living and housing. So can you see these are exaggerated fees? Again, we exaggerate the fees here. Why? Because we always want to make sure that the students have the maximum budget in mind. So at the end of the day, we don't want a student to start at St. George's University, then 2 to 3 years later, realize that, I can't afford to continue the program. And the reason for that is medical school is a lot of work, and we don't want any students, starting and not being able to finish. It's not fair for the students. So always, again, depending on each student, but here you can get a general idea of housing, how much you would need per year, food, how much you would need per year, transportation, books, insurance, etc.
Okay. We have a question by Kareem. Kareem wants to know, what is the final percentage of transcripts do they require for the 7-year MD program when it comes to the American curriculum?
So if it's the American curriculum, they would require an 85% overall.
Okay. And we have another question by Mohammed Ishaq. Mohammed wants to know, will medicine students complete their 5-year course in Grenada or somewhere else?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Yeah, Mohammed wants to know, will the students, basically, will they complete their 5-year medical course in Grenada or some other campus?
Okay, I'm going to share the program outline that we discussed, just so it's much easier when we visually explain it. Can everyone see my screen? Oh.
Yes.
So looking at this, do you see the flags below? So if I was to start, for example, at the 7-year MD program, this year would be mandatory to start in Grenada. However, if I'm doing the 6-year or 5-year program, I have the option to choose between the UK and Grenada. There will be a compulsory year in Grenada before I do my clinical rotations, which is either in the US or the UK. So to answer that question, if I'm starting at the 6-year or 5-year or 4-year MD program, I have the option to choose between 2 campuses. As we said, academic-wise, it's the exact same thing. Faculty is the same. So, and curriculum is the same. It's just the type of exposure that you may want, or maybe location wise, it may be closer. And I do know that a lot of parents in the Middle East, are a bit hesitant at first for Grenada. So we do have a lot of students starting in the UK, then later transferring to Grenada. Again, this is optional. You get to decide whether you want to go to the Grenada campus or the UK campus.
Okay, let's just take the last question now. Timothy wants to know, is there any class program in India?
Is there any, sorry?
Any program or any classes done in India?
So for those who want, to get that experience, you do have the option of doing your first year with our affiliate, Ramaya University. So you do have the option of doing the first year in Ramaya and then transferring to Grenada.
Okay, with that question, I think we've answered all open questions that we had. But once again, I would like to tell all the students and parents that have joined us that the contact details have been shared in the chat. In case your question is not answered or in case you still have any doubt, feel free to contact us. And this is where we will be ending our session as well. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Ms. Noor, as well.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Noor, and thank you everybody for joining us now. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.